People deluded, I'm back again. I'm at the Emirates and yeah, man, talk about social distancing. Nobody's on the field with me. In fact, to the left-hand side of my left, it'll be you lot's right. I see you gardening, guys. So it's just me and him at the Emirates Stadium today. But on a serious note, thank you very much for returning to my channel. Thank you very much for taking me in. I hope you're well and safe, and I hope the same can be said to your loved ones, close family, relatives, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whoever you are, wherever you are, according to the time zone. There isn't much to speak about in the world of football. I don't know the right word to say, but my sympathy goes out to Dele Alli. Obviously, he was a victim of a robbery in his home. You've seen a tragic story. I don't really want to speak about it because it's tragic, but a Turkish footballer has killed his own baby. There's been a couple other stuff. Obviously, you lot know in relation to the less dramatic in the Premier League, every day there's something new in relation to how we're going to get back playing again. The latest I've seen with football is that Italian league are starting to try and follow Germany and get back playing as soon as possible. Obviously, it's Thursday at the time of making this vid. Saturday, Bundesliga will return in some capacity, allegedly. So I know a lot of football fans are keen to see that. We've been deprived of football, so at least that's there. But in relation to talking points surrounding Arsenal, there isn't much, but we'd speak about them. First and foremost, according to all Nigeria soccer, apparently Arsenal and Liverpool are planning an ambitious summer swoop for Chelsea starlet Anjorin. Now, for me, I don't think that's going to happen purely because he's contracted until 2021. You know, Chelsea have a decision to make. I think he'll sign a new deal, but he needs to take his time and think, am I going to get opportunities at Chelsea? Or if not, you know, follow everybody if it's a case of going abroad, typically with a lot of young players, or joining another team. If he was to leave on a free transfer, you know, I'm pretty sure he'd cost a healthy compensation fee. And even though he's got a year left on his deal right now, he would cost a lot. I think he'll stay at Chelsea. I think he's got a great future ahead of him, whether it's at Chelsea or elsewhere. He's nothing like Loftus-Cheek, but he's got the physique like him of sorts. He's a physical handful. He's got good balance, can drive with a football in a positive way. He's a bully in front of goal, can play a couple of roles. I think Anjorin next season, even this season, I think he made his debut, but it's been cut off. Maybe next season he gets opportunities, and he should feel at least under Lampard. Obviously, things can change in football. You know, the ban, as much as I think Lampard would play young players and has, it's largely became because of the Chelsea ban. Now that the ban's gone, things can change, or let's just say it won't happen, but Lampard is sacked tomorrow because of bad form. A new manager comes in and he's back to square one with the academy. Now, if you signed a 5-year deal, you're in a bit of a pickle. But I think it's never been a better time to be a Chelsea academy youngster on the cusp of the first team. You see Billy Gilmore getting opportunities, obviously Tomori, Tammy, Reece James, all of these sort of players that have had loan spells and a bit older than him have now got into the first team. And there's a couple of other players. You got Borja, the striker. I've watched terrorise Arsenal. The first time I watched him was when he played Arsenal. He's a bully. I think he's eligible to play for Albania. He's made his debut. So whether these lot go on to progress, it's there because there's been some very good Chelsea youngsters that didn't really have a chance. You look at Boga, you know, Masunda was the one you was really looking at. You would have thought Lewis Baker would be definitely more of a household name in the English game than he currently is. You know, there's many players. So I think Chelsea is the best place for him. I don't know that. If he wants to leave, then obviously, you know, a club like Borussia Dortmund and these sort of teams there for what they've done with Sancho, and there's many other examples, could be the next step for him. I think it would be an L for Chelsea to lose because I think he is the next one. I do think he's someone that's going to ring some bells playing for Chelsea or playing football in general in the next couple of years. And I think he's decent and he's got the world at his feet, and it's down to him how good he wants to be. I really rate Anjorin as a player, people. So yeah, of course I would love him at Arsenal, and fingers crossed that's the case, but I don't think it happens. I think he stays at Chelsea. And obviously be a good signing for Liverpool as well. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Moving away from that though, and apparently Arsenal are one of the clubs that have reached out to Julian Draxler ahead of a possible move for the player this summer. Now, apparently he's eligible to be sold by PSG. Can't imagine he's got that long left on his contract. I'm pretty sure he's contracted until 2021, although I could be wrong. So let me do you lot a favour and myself a favour, in fact, and actually check. Obviously, he's 26. He's a bit part player at PSG. He's always linked with us. We've tried to get him for a number of years. You could see why we might attempt to get him. Yeah, he is contracted until 2021. So that's eligible for us to get him for a quote-unquote affordable fee, maybe even a loan signing, you know, maybe something like that. Because PSG, if they're not going to sell him to us, do you imagine they sell him elsewhere? You know, PSG don't really need funds. They could keep him for the squad, but I'd imagine his future will be sorted. PSG at all levels, really. They keep letting players' deals run out. You look at a couple of their youngsters. A year ago, I made a video on 3 separate players in Kawasi, Kai Ruiz, Etel, and obviously Adil Ayushe. I can't say his name, but all 3 technically their deals are up this summer. I do think a couple will sign deals. I definitely think it's an L in the Kawasi's case, because he's a man monster at 18, 17, 18. So they need to fix up in that regards. And they are going to have to sell him, and that might entice Arsenal. You know, we might be able to get him for a quote-unquote affordable fee, providing we move players on. I'm not too sure, though, because you'd imagine at 26 years of age, you know, you'd imagine he wants a fairly respectable contract. And I do think Arsenal could offer him that in theory. He's got his best years ahead of him, sort of thing. You could tie him down to a 4-year deal until he's 30, possibly 31, with a 5-year deal, and then he's free to do what he wants, and you don't make the same mistake he did with Ozil. But it's a delicate situation, really and truly, and it would take a lot of finances. And I do think, you know, if you offered me, I do think you need someone like Draxler who can create, and someone like Partey. But if it came at a push, I would more like us to spend that outlay on Partey. We do need 2 central midfielders, like I said. In my humble opinion, it is what it is. And he's someone that's been deprived of football. He's made 11 appearances this season, getting 5 assists, and he's been a bit part player. Obviously, at Arsenal, we've got a drunk German continuing. You've got Ozil, you've got Mustafi. Obviously, you've got Mertesacker, former player, in and around the squad doing his youth academy stuff. You've got players that, if they're not necessarily German, they're German speakers. You'd imagine Socrates has a good grasp on that language, same as Aubameyang as well, people. Obviously, Mkhitaryan's not here, but we don't know what's going to happen with his future. And I might be missing out a couple of names, Kolasinac, if I haven't said such already. I wouldn't mind Draxler. He wouldn't be my first target. He's a good player, but it is what it is in that regards. We'll have to see. Our loanee, Dani Ceballos, has been speaking in general. I think he's firstly spoken to defend Gareth Bale for whatever reason, and kind of spoken in relation to his time at Madrid, people. And again, I saw this via Google Translate, so if it doesn't make sense, apologies. But in relation to Bale, he said, and this guy, it's worth remembering, this is someone that's very opinionated. He's, you know, Bale is someone that's polarized his opinion, to put it nicely, with Madrid fans. He's been strong on that. Obviously, he's been strong on the Pep Guardiola best manager, in which, you know, that might not go well down at Madrid. And obviously, he's made strong comments in relation to, you know, the whole Spanish national versus Catalonian sort of thing. I'm not going to get into it, but he is very opinionated and he can polarize opinion. But what he said in relation to Bale, he said, it's a league that would be quite good for him, but he's a fundamental player for Madrid, speaking in relation to a return to the Prem. Let's not forget he has given the club, let's not forget everything he has given the club. Whoever does not trust him, put on the Champions League final. He has given enough for the club, which is true. More important, in relevance to Arsenal, he said, I am happy and I have a contract with Real Madrid. What does that tell you? You know, he wants to make it at Madrid. He'll only really have to leave Madrid permanently if he is told, you know, you have no future here. And at 23 years of age, he needs to settle down a bit. You're not 19 anymore. If you're going to stay at Madrid, stay there. If you're going to leave, leave. But you can't do this 1 minute you're a bit part player, then the next you're going on loan. It's not healthy. He needs to go somewhere, if it's not going to be Madrid, somewhere else on loan for a couple of years, really get his head down, really play to the point where, you know, if he's at, like, similar at Arsenal, it's not all been his fault. He's had bare different managers and the league's been, you know, Arsenal's been a bit of a joke this season. But he's not played to the standard where, when you mention Arsenal this season, he's the first player you mention. When you mention who we could afford to lose, you're speaking of Aubameyang and Saka. For obvious reasons, they're permanent players in their contract. But we should be talking about what a serious void it is that Ceballos is leaving by leaving the club. And when his loan expires, we should be begging him to stay. We all can admit he's a technically sound footballer. We all can admit he's got a big future ahead of himself at the top level, you know, and he's still got potential there, but he hasn't been playing to that standard. And it's not all been his fault. He's had injuries. The team hasn't been healthy, but at times he hasn't been in the squad. And you've got to ask yourself what he was doing. He's turned that around, but clearly he wants to make it at Madrid. But at 23, you've really got to settle down, man. I know you're an international footballer and you know, you've played for Madrid. You've won everything Madrid has had to offer you. You know, you're a top bracket footballer, but you get the point. He also said, I am 23 years of age. I have not passed the rice. Again, the rice, I'm not too sure on what that means, but this is what he said. I have not passed the rice. Now I feel much more a player and I'm prepared for any challenge that comes my way. So this seems someone that, you know, when you're on a mission, sometimes, you know, you've got to believe in yourself. Like, I believe he can make it at Madrid, but I also believe he should consider a future away. If that's his dream to make it at Madrid, then rightly or wrongly, obviously consider alternative realities, but he should have tunnel vision. Even in his tough moments at Arsenal, he should believe his future lies in Madrid. And you kind of get the theme from him. He feels, I've had a tough season at Arsenal, but I've kind of got back in Arteta's plans and I can break through at Madrid sort of thing. So this tells me this is what he's going to have to do. He's obviously going to be linked with loan spells as long as he's at Madrid and until he upgrades his stature within the team. And in relation to that, he's more or less echoed previously what we've heard him say and what we've known before. He has said, yes, my agent told me about interests of other teams, but I did not play because I was coming back from injury. I started training and changed my situation in the last month and a half. I felt important. I also knew about Valencia's interest, so his agent told him about it. Obviously, they were probably considering changing the situation. Like he said, he's had injuries, he's got over the injuries, and now he's one of the first names on the team sheet with Xhaka in that pivot. I wouldn't mind keeping him for another loan, to see what he could do, playing from the off. But if he goes, and a big reason as to keeping him would be, can we bring in two central midfielders of different profiles? If we can't, then it could be a bit smart keeping Ceballos and going heavy on Partey or someone of that skill set. It is what it is in that regards. Obviously, his loans fee is 5 million. We then pour 10 million on the player. You'd probably be looking at 10 million. Could we have used that extra 5 to do something better or try another loan player or something else in the situation? So we'll have to see what happens in that regards, folks. In relation to Mertesacker, he's spoken about Edu, and as you lot know, he's head of youth development. And from what I hear him do, I know he's doing good work there, but he really, there's certain things I can't speak on, but he really is doing great things with the youth and really away from actually, obviously, he's helping and coordinating, improving the players and them sort of things there, but away from all of that, just better human beings, the stuff that he's doing, like for one thing, discipline. Obviously, he's a German man. Discipline is a big part of German culture, and you get that with the way they play, the way they train, and the way they do things in society. He's very much on that in academy level. And without going into specifics, certain players have felt the wrath of that. Certain players have felt, encouraged by that. But it has had a positive effect. You listen to parents; they say the same thing. I'm not going to go on about stuff because it's not for me to speak on. But in relation to what I can speak on, he spoke on Arsenal player BFG Mertesacker. He said, I'm so delighted that, and it's worth remembering that Mertesacker actually wanted Mikel to come in before anything else, to be fair with you. He's been a big fan of Mikel, his former teammate. But what he said is, I'm so delighted that Mikel has a place where he belongs. That's my belief. That was my belief already as a player. His leadership is fantastic. I felt it myself, just being vice captain and learning from him how to handle situations, how to man up, be the captain and show it, but as well to have empathy and feeling for people. I learned a lot from him, and I can only say that our working relationship is great and our personal relationship is great. I can see a fantastic future for us. It's just building pieces with Edu as well. So I think we're in a fantastic position. We don't take anything for granted. Now is the time to really push on and make sure we come back to where we belong, and that's the Champions League, and having world-class players in the building and having world-class young players. And that's obviously Mertesacker's mandate. Obviously, Mertesacker isn't the only variable in for players making it, but he has to oversee it. He has to coordinate or have a strong hand in what we're doing at all levels from Halen. Make sure there's a progression. Is there a, you can't always judge it, but is there a good 9-year-old that you can obviously see is going to have a future at football? Let's make him a good human being. Let's coordinate his move and make sure it's smoothly as he goes through the academy, not just academy, but school life, then gets a scholarship, then chases that first year deal, spending 2 years with the 18s, then the 23s, then the first team. Do you get it, sort of thing? It costs our academy 2-3 million, anything from 1 to 3 million to run people. So if you sell one player for multi-million, the academy's done its job, people. And I do think the future is bright. We've got, again, it's not just one. It's like we saw, like with Wenger and Glazides. It's not just one man's fault or reason for a success or failure. It's a coordinated effort. One thing that I like is that with not on an ages thing, but with the exception of, I believe, Raul Sancho, everybody's relatively young in terms of these executive or corporate positions. Mertesacker is definitely young, very young in being a head of youth development. Arteta is definitely young being a manager. Edu is definitely young being a technical director. But this helps us because we have a young squad. We need longevity in terms of, bringing in players for value that are going to be in this team for a number of years. We need the energy to turn this team around because we need to coach these players. Emil, Saka, Nelson, Eddie, all of Tyrese, all of these young players in and around the team, they're all going to progress to first team at different levels. Some are going to be regulars, some are going to be squads, some are going to be sold. It's about coordinating this. It's also about coordinating away from youth, bringing in the players that can help us benefit, also making sure we're on the same page. And I like that, man, because I like the structure we've got at place. But what I want to do is see harder work, because I don't think, it's not just Mertesacker mandate to bring through academy players. Arteta's got to have the courage to play them, and Mertesacker's also got to have faith in the people below him. Let's not be naive. He's not at Hale End every day, watching every age group train every day. He's not. He has to have faith in the academy staff to do what they're doing and coordinate and share the same ethos, in which he does. Arteta, he's the manager, and ultimately it falls on him, but he can't be everywhere, cover everything. He needs to have trusted coaches. Edu, he needs to have faith in Raul. Raul needs to have faith in Edu. Vinay everybody needs to have faith in everybody. Huss, Farmer, whoever. It's all got to be like that, people. And obviously, when you say world-class young players, you look at Saka and Martinelli and you want them to progress, and you want a few more of such. He also said, we want to build on our DNA that has developed over centuries, so we cannot forget the history and the greatness of the club we are inheriting. We are inheriting that, and we are the sons of so many greats and have led this club to greatness. So it's a big responsibility, not only for myself, but for Mikel, Edu, and all great leadership staff to have. I feel we have more and more people in the right places, and I feel great about it. Now, a bit of that is obviously a bit PR, especially paying homage to the legends and stuff. And I like it. Don't get twisted. I like all of that. But, what more can I say in relation to what Mertesacker said? That's 100% facts. And like I said, I'm very encouraged in stuff I've heard from Mertesacker personally, and stuff I've heard about what Mertesacker's doing and the coaches around and what they're doing in place, people. It is of benefit to me as a humble Arsenal fan that wants to... You not know me, I'm an Arsenal fan. I love to go and watch my team on the weekend, but I also love to watch young players come through the academy. And, to know that I have someone in Mertesacker that feels the same way and, is trying his best to make sure the stars of tomorrow get everything they need, it's of benefit. And obviously, when you've got Mikel, when I think of Mikel, don't get it twisted, he showed me a lot of great tactics, good man management, all of these things. But one thing, and I'm not being disrespectful to Emery because clearly he has it, he's a manager, but I think Arteta, one word I'd use to describe him would be integrity. I have him as a man of integrity. I see consistencies in what he says. Allegedly, you hear he says to the players, he says to us, he allegedly tells them on the field, and allegedly what he tells us, what he tells them in terms of tactics, and what he says in the press conferences. Obviously, sometimes it's not going to happen, but 9 times out of 10, what I see consistency over all media channels and forms of communication in relation to what he's doing. I see him acting with integrity. Again, the wage bill and the whole wage stuff, I don't want to go over it, but it's irrelevant to me as a fan. But again, you hear Arteta's role, integrity in that sort of thing, people. He really, and you've got to have integrity. And I think the same, you can say what you want about Arsene Wenger, but I think Arsene Wenger's biggest quality isn't, obviously, he's a good man management. He cares for people and stuff, and he sees the beauty in men. But again, integrity. There was obviously examples, but most great people, people that have accomplished great stuff, they've got integrity, or they have some sort of integrity. Obviously, there are some poor individuals that have great success, but in my reality, the people I look up to, the people that has encouraged me, like Arteta right now, has integrity. And if you've got integrity, I've got all the patience for you, because there's consistency in what you're saying. Again, I'm not trying to bash Emery. I'm not saying Emery doesn't lack anything. I'm not saying that, but as a fan, you was looking at a bit of how he was handling things. It did seem a bit sneaky and a bit lacking integrity. I didn't really think, and I feel Arteta's values more match what Arsenal look for, despite the fact that versus Emery, despite the fact that Emery is vastly more experienced than him. So that's why I'm happy with Arteta. Only time will tell if he's a success. I do think Arteta will get things wrong. I mean, he is a relative novice in football. Naturally, everybody makes mistakes. I think he'll do a lot. I think he'll do a lot more good than harm. I think the more important thing is Arteta's shown he can coach players and stuff, but he needs to be given the decent tools. The decent tools and the decent players to help us get top four and remain and become and remain a consistent top four qualification side again. When we can do that for a year or two, then we can talk about titles. Of course, I would love to go from 9th place at the moment. Next season, it's a mad thing. We're challenging Liverpool and City for the title, and the first title since 2004, since I was in primary school and I had cane rolls, and I'm getting a bit of a moustache now, so Arsenal get it going, people. I might have sideburns by the next time we do something of significance. Of course, I would love that, but life don't work like that. It's a gradual process, and Arsenal, I do think this club is in love with projects. We're in love with projects. There's always another project. And let me rephrase that. We're in love with unfinished projects. We're like farmers who plant the best mangoes and the best mango seeds and stuff, but we're the only ones that don't get to taste the mangoes. It's other teams and other people who get to taste the mangoes. The mangoes being the team you've assembled with Cesc Fabregas, Van Persie, Nasri, Alexis, bringing in Ozil and not really building around him and Santi and these sort of players. Obviously, with the English players, the project we had with the Oxes, the Fios, the Ramseys, the Wilsheres, the project we've got now, which is almost V2 of that English stuff with the Joes, the Mills, the Nelsons, the Maitlands, the Tyreses, the Eddies, Balogun below them and stuff like that. Players that really should get an opportunity in the first team in a not too distant future, and those who are currently in and around the first team. Hopefully that project succeeds us, because a lot of them players, if we're really self-sustaining as we claim, majority of them players have to progress to being top-class footballers. And what I mean by that is they're playing in top leagues, whether that's the top 5 in the world or the championship. Because like I said, and to round this, not everybody's going to go on to be a first-team player. You're going to have certain players that are, difference makers in the team, but bordering on qualifying for PFA Team of the Year all the time. You're going to have first-team regulars. You're going to have squad players. You're going to have rotation options. Certain players are just going to need to be sold to make profit, and that's the way football is. If we really have to really get the biggest dollar, because we haven't. We should have got 40 million or so for Ramsey, should have bought 60 million minimum for Alexis Sanchez, 2 experienced players. You've let Gnabry, Marlon, all these players go for peanuts sort of thing. And we need to stop that. If we're really self-sustaining, you let Gnabry go for 20 odd million. You let Marlon go for the same. Do you get it? So it's about looking at that and looking at it now. You've got Saka's contract running out. That needs to get sorted out. I believe Eddie Nketiah is contracted until 2022. So a decision needs to be made on him. We need to give him a new deal to protect our resale value and obviously respect and protect his emergence or slight emergence as more of a stronger first-team candidate. He's gone from being that young player on the cusp to more or less being a rotation option now, and credit to him as starting in the Premier League. It's about rewarding these players, but it's also about protecting our value, because what happens now if, Aubameyang, let's say Aubameyang and Lacazette leave, I would back it. I think it's a tough ask for Eddie. I think right now he's a squad player, he learns his thing, he can help us, but, it'd be tough to ask him to get 20 league goals. Let's just say Saka, Aubameyang or Lacazette leave, or both of them leave, or whatever scenario you want. Eddie's thrown in, Eddie scores goals. He's shown he scores goals. Eddie scores goals. He gets a respectable amount of return in the Premier League. His price goes up. He's got a year left on his deal, people. Next season, going into next season, he'd have a year left. You're now making it harder for yourself. You have to give him more money. Let's just say, I want to leave Arsenal now. You might have been able to get 30, 40 for him, but now you can only get 25 because he's got a year left and you're playing a dangerous game. So it's about just having peace of mind, and peace of mind will come from being proactive. We haven't been too proactive as a club. If we was proactive, Aubameyang would either have signed a new deal or wouldn't be at this club. And then many things can be said for other players. We've got to change this. And I'm actually looking to certain individuals who came out when they signed for this club and said players would not be allowed to run down deals, because you open your mouth and come and said that and excited fans. Because fans, we were tired of seeing that. And we still are seeing that. Of course, it's not easy. It's not a quick fix, but that's something we need to address. I've got nothing more to add, so I'm going to get out of here, people. It's a pleasure speaking with you lot, but as usual, good things have to come to an end. I've got to go crack on with some other stuff, and I no doubt you do too as well. So yeah, like I said at the start, people, please stay safe. Stay at home, stay safe, look after your loved ones. I hope you and your loved ones remain in good health. Please comment, like, subscribe, all of these sort of things, and I'll be back again. But for now, check out my other content if you ain't seen all my vids. I doubt you have. People, Deluded.